are in Chapter 5, The Case of the Afternoon Accident. The rest of the morning was a blur. First, Mr. E reached in his sack and pulled out a big rolled-up map. He tacked it onto the bulletin board and taught my friends a game called Map Attack. I couldn't really see what was going on because they stood in front of the map and blocked my view. It got very noisy, and the rest of the class seemed to have fun. Next came Animal Addition. This time, Mr. E pulled out finger puppets and different animal shapes, and the class played some sort of adding and subtracting game. I don't know why they needed fake animals when there were two perfectly good real animals in the room, but nobody seemed to notice Og and me. My classmates enjoyed the game, but I thought the problems were a little too easy for them, especially for Small Paul, who is a math whiz. Then, right after lunch, something odd happened. The door opened, and my friends all streamed in, talking and giggling as usual. But when they were all in their seats, I noticed that one chair was empty. Were they playing the game they'd played yesterday? "Who's missing?" I squeaked loudly. I guess I didn't squeak loudly enough. Luckily, Helpful Holly also noticed that Harry was missing. "Excuse me, Mr. E," she asked. "Yes, Holly," he asked. She pointed at Harry's empty chair. "Harry didn't come back from lunch." Mr. E looked at the empty chair and scratched his head. "Oh," he said. "Does anyone know where he is?" I didn't have any idea, and neither did any of my friends. Holly's hand shot up. "I'll go look for him," she said. "I'm sure he'll turn up in a minute," Mr. E said. I don't think Mrs. Brisbane would ever say that. She worked very hard since the beginning of school to help hurry up Harry learn to be on time. Mrs. Brisbane spends a lot of time thinking up ways to help her students, or at least she did. I spent up a lot of time thinking of ways to help Mrs. Brisbane, but how could I help her if she wasn't here? Mr. E was trying to tell my friends how to play Word War when the door opened and Harry strolled in. "Welcome back," Mr. E said. "Glad you can join us." "Thanks," Harry said. That was it. Did Mr. E think it was fine for Harry to come to class whenever he felt like it? The game began when Mr. E wrote a word on the board. Then, two students ran up and made a list of new words by adding letters to the beginning or end. They started with 8 and wrote mate and hate, then hated, late, later, and slate. Whoever came up with the most words won that round. I could tell my friends enjoyed being able to run in the classroom. They got louder and louder as they cheered each other on, and as the game got more and more exciting. Then Mr. E wrote down a word on the board. Eat. "I've got it!" "Slow down," Simon shouted as he raced to the board. "I know!" "Be careful," Kelsey said as she ran up to the board. Simon didn't slow down. Kelsey forgot to be careful. The two of them rammed right into each other. "Ow!" Simon yelled, holding the side of his head. "Ow!" Kelsey shouted, clapping her hand over her eye. Kelsey cried a little, and Simon kept saying, "Ow! Ow!" How many times had Mrs. Brisbane tried to think of ways to slow down Simon? How many times had Mrs. Brisbane encouraged Kelsey to think before doing things? And now that Mrs. Brisbane was gone, look what had happened. Mr. E decided to send them to the nurse's office. I could go with them, Holly volunteered. "I think they can manage on their own," Mr. E told her. That was the end of Word War, thank goodness. "What next?" Mr. E said. Helpful Holly raised her hand. "It's time to look after Humphrey and Og," she said. "Oh, right," Mr. E said. Then Holly said, "Humphrey needs his veggies." "Did anybody bring veggies for the hamster?" Mr. E asked her class. The hamster. As if I didn't even have a name. "Oh no," Phoebe exclaimed. "I forgot." "Sorry, Humphrey." I might have felt discouraged, except for the fact that 6 hands went up in the air. A lot of my friends had remembered to bring me a treat. Just Joey offered a piece of lettuce. Tall Paul brought me a blueberry. Small Paul brought sunflower seeds, my favorite. Rolling Rosie had some yummy celery, and Holly offered me a tiny bit of broccoli. Thomas gave me his carrot sticks again, which isn't really a good thing, because he should eat his veggies every day. There were so many hamsterlicious things to eat, I hid some of them in my cheek pouch and the rest in my bedding. It's always nice to save a little something for the future. I was still busy nibbling when Simon and Kelsey came back. Simon was holding an ice pack on the side of his head. Kelsey had an ice pack on her eye. "Is everything all right now?" Mr. E asked. They both nodded and took their seats. "I think it's story time," Mr. E said. My ears twitched when he said that. Was he finally going to read us the rest of the Sherlock Holmes story from the Big Red Book? That's where we'll stop for today. We'll pick it up with the rest of Chapter 5 tomorrow.